Oh, welcome yourself back to yourself. Just let your attention settle into this moment and this body. This moment is exactly what it is. And this mind is doing exactly what this mind is doing. And just see if you can bring mindfulness to whatever is true now, whether that's active mind or settled mind. Physical sensations that might be easy to feel or maybe feel distant. And just notice this moment exactly as it is. And if it feels useful to bring the attention to the breath, if that feels like that would help some settling happen, then just do that. Just notice breathing happening. You can notice hearing happening. And if you notice your thinking, when you wake up to that, notice what thinking feels like. There's actually a quality in the mind that's a sensation of thinking happening. It's subtle, but it's also helpful to be mindful of. You allow yourself to know that we are here, each of us, tending to ourselves. Just notice what hearing that feels like. Together, tending to ourselves. If you find you've gotten a little lost, know that that's just mind doing what mind does. And you also have the choice to just come back home to the breathing or sensations of the body. As we come to the end of this thing we call meditation, I want to encourage you to let this transition be gentle, not feel like you have to abandon whatever it is you may have cultivated in this last 20 minutes. You could even just listen to my talk with your eyes closed. Or if you feel like you need some kind of a transition, a stretch or opening your eyes, let it be slow. Let's see if you can bring your awareness with yourself as you move from one activity to the next. I want to start with a quote from Joanna Macy. This is a living world. I'll do everything for it. Nothing will ever befall me that will separate me from the living world. It's my larger body. This is a living world. I'll do everything for it. Nothing will ever befall me that will separate me from the living world. It's my larger body. I know I put it out there that I was going to talk about attachment, and I realized that I'll be talking about attachment, which is kind of a technical term I realize I use a lot because I'm so interested in it. But I may not actually use that word much in what I'm talking about, because I'm really... I have a fascination with where the spiritual teachings and where the psychological teachings overlap and how they describe each other or are each other. And we've been talking about interconnection and interdependence a fair amount in the last talks. And so I want to do a little definition of terms because I'm going to use the G word, which is triggering for some people. And I don't know if it will be triggering for anyone here, but I'm going to talk about God. And I want to really be clear about what I mean when I say God. And I'm not talking about some patriarchal somebody up in the sky looking down and judging us. And that's not my experience of God anymore. Dan Siegel talks about all that is being a complex emergent system, which I think is very close to, and I think Dan and Joanna probably knew each other, but there's a big interplay of all that is being something vast that we are all small parts of, and that we are indivisible from. And that's God. So if I use that word again, that's what I mean. I mean all that is. I mean the undivided realness of the universe, if you will. That we are all little points of awareness inside. And these points of awareness that we are connect to that vastness when we remember and when we can work through the things that get in the way of our being able to see that and experience it. And so we're literally wired for connection because it's all connected, right? It means we're wired for connection. And we're wired for connection in that we gestate in our mother's bellies, and there's no separation there. We are actually part of our mothers. And then we're born, and we don't know that there's separation. And so we learn separation. The truth is connection. Like, that's the truth. We are connected. And we're connected with these incredibly sensitive nervous systems that get impacted by a world that is pretty unconscious of that fact. And we are many, many generations into the failed experiment of the nuclear family and the idea that babies and children should be taught how to be independent rather than provided with safety so that independence comes naturally. I won't go too much more into that, but mainly just to really impress on all of us, because I need to remember this as well, that we are connected and we just forget. And this awareness that we have, this aliveness, this thing that you see in each other's eyes, right? This like, wow, you're alive, right? There's somebody there when you look at someone in their eyes. And that's like God animate is how I'm thinking of it. It's that something that can connect in an awake way to that truth. That there's just amazing awareness, and we're all witnessing and experience this complex emergent system of the universe from our own little point within it all, right? And Adyashanti, who I consider my main teacher, he talks about how we can be God awake, looking through our eyes, or we can be God confused, right? And the confusion is, I think I'm separate. That's kind of the primary confusion that we can experience, is the belief that we're separate from anything, right? And that we don't have a rightful place in the world, or that we don't have something we're here to do, if you will, right? That kind of can look different ways, but that primary wound of I'm separate, right, is what creates the confusion. And so that's the work that I think most of us are doing, of wanting to remember, like, who are we really? Who are we and what are we? That's the work. That's how I describe it anyway. But, whether that's, I just want to be happier, right? I'm suffering and I want to be happier. Like that can be sort of the simplest way to describe the work, right? Or I want meaning. We need meaning, right? And sometimes that meaning is remembering that I'm actually connected. That we learned we were disconnected, and we can remember that we're connected. And it's like, as little babies, we got wired by this world, by how many generations into having parents who forgot that they were really connected too, right? Like it's a generational thing that we keep passing down disconnection, and it leads to what we're seeing in the world. It's the kind of micro, macro movement. Like I'm connected and I'm disconnected and everything else is disconnected. And so it doesn't matter what we do to the world, right? It doesn't matter because all that matters is me being happy because I'm disconnected, right? But if we can really feel that connection, we do better. We're kinder, right? Adyashanti also will talk about when awareness, when consciousness is awake, it naturally tends towards compassion. And when it's confused, then it tends more towards fear, right? And so the healing of that disconnection, that I think we're all on a path in our own different ways towards healing that. It's the clearing of obscurations, if you want to use more Buddhist language. It's rewiring, literally rewiring our nervous systems so that we can experience connection again. That's why in the meditation I was just suggesting you're tending to yourself, and we're all here tending to ourselves. It's like we have a choice of knowing that we're here together, knowing that we're burping. No. Knowing that we're breathing the oxygen that the trees are giving off. Knowing that we literally can't be separate. And just that's a rewiring that happens. And I think that rewiring, that healing happens in meditation, just as a natural, the settling of the mind, the feeling of the body. I think that most of the confusion is in the mind, is in the thinking, it's in the in the nervous system, fear, reptilian brain going into survival mode. That's a sense of separation, right? I'm going to die, I have to survive. And there's a place for that, right? There's a need for that. But the more we can calm that down and feel something that's really more related to our limbic system, that's not in the prefrontal cortex, which is what chops up the world and analyzes everything and, figures out all the things you have to do and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's the monkey mind happens up there in the prefrontal cortex. The reptilian brain is all about survival. Am I safe? There might be a tiger coming, and I've got to run, or I've got to fight, or I'm going to just go dead so that I don't feel it if the tiger gets me. Well, all of that's a lot of separation, different kind of places in the brain. And the limbic system is where we can actually feel the connection. And the limbic system is what gets wired when we're babies, when we have really attuned, I am talking about attachment now, so when we have really attuned caregivers, then that connection gets reified. That connection gets experienced, and that gets wired in. So whether it's meditation, whether it's, good therapy, working through our traumas, right? Learning to calm the mind, all of those things literally heal the misconception that we're separate. And that's love. And I don't actually think that there's a difference between the word God and love. I think they're the same. That's something that I can just offer from my own experience, that it's like, maybe it's the wisdom and compassion that is talked about in Tibetan Buddhism, but that sort of, there's this kind of a clarity, and then there's a compassion, and the compassion is kind of like God in motion, right? God in action. And some of the healing also can be how we tend to ourselves. And that's also how we approach meditation. Are we kind to ourselves when we notice that we've wandered, right? What voice comes in that says, "Oh, I forgot my breath," or whatever the intention was, right? What is that voice like? Is that voice maybe an echo from a past that says you're separate and you have to be right and you have to earn your place in the world? You don't have to earn your place in the world. We can be kind to these parts of us that get a little lost sometimes. And that is rewiring. Anytime we can be kind to ourselves, we're rewiring. And that's the basis of a lot of therapeutic modalities. Internal family systems is also all about, can we be kind to the parts of ourselves that got confused for really good reasons? And can we call them back into connection? We can love our obscurations and help them become less obscure by loving them.
What's an obscuration?
The obscuration is the confusion, the things that come into our minds that we learned, usually in childhood, maybe ancestrally, right? It's just the mind believing itself in all of its stories, right? It's obscuring the truth of this connection that we are whole. We're whole individually, we're whole as a group, and we're whole as a vast universe. And I think that's enough. I had a couple other things written, but I think it would just be extra. And of course, I want to dedicate this, any merit we may have received from being together like this, doing this meditation, to the benefit of all beings in all the worlds and all the realms and all the times. May all beings know that they are free and connected.